Alright, so today we're going to be talking about some rhetorical appeals. So this is what your essay is going to focus over, is looking at the three rhetorical appeals, ethos, logos, and pathos, and how you see them in, or rather how the author uses them in their story. So you're supposed to read 2 summer reading books, and you're going to have to analyze how each author uses at least one of those appeals in their story. Now you have some leeway with this essay, so you can look at how each author uses all 3 appeals, or if you just want to focus on one and how each author uses that one, that would be fine as well. And kind of compare and contrast how they do it, what are the differences, or you can look at if they use different appeals and emphasize that as well. So let me give you just kind of a brief review of what those 3 appeals are. You learned it with Dr. Reel, but I'm gonna kind of give you an overview again. Now, the rhetorical appeals were originally invented by Aristotle, back ancient Greece and Athens and all of that. And Aristotle, he broke it down into those 3. Now, there are other appeals, but we're just going to focus on these. So let's start with ethos. Ethos is from the Greek word character. Now, this is when a speaker uses an ethical appeal or uses ethos. This is when he's trying to demonstrate his credibility specifically, that he is an authority to speak on this matter, and he's going to sway his audience using that authority. Now, how does a speaker do this? Usually this is when a speaker uses ethos, he's going to establish his expertise, his knowledge on the subject, his personal experiences with it, that he's sincerely concerned with it, that he has a shared value, he shares these values as the audience in whatever matter they're talking about, or he's explaining his background. Now, there are a couple different examples you could point to for this in particular, such as like a doctor saying, like, I went to medical school and studied viruses. That's why I can speak on the corona. Or you could say, like, Coach Perez. He has played baseball. He has coached baseball. He has been a coach, so he is a credible source to speak on the topic of baseball. So you could talk something like that, or even me as an example. Like, I have a degree in English literature, so that gives me the authority, the credibility to talk to you now about appeals. Moving on to logos, though, a logical appeal is one that focuses around reason, and this could be either a logical train of thought or the use of rational ideas. Now, people generally interpret this as like statistics or facts or using things like that in an argument. However, it could also be the layout of the argument itself, if it follows a logical argument, premise to premise, to conclusion, or if it uses things like expert testimony or even specific details. That could also fall under the category of logos. The Henrietta Lacks book is, I think, one of the best examples out of your summer reading that uses examples of logos, since Rebecca Skloot uses so many kind of former examples, tissue lawsuit cases, and brings in so much science into the novel itself. So, our final appeal is pathos. Pathos, tomato, tomato, whatever you want to call it. It is, in some senses, the weakest, but also the strongest appeal. Primarily because it has the power to move people. Because it is the appeal that deals with emotion specifically, and it's when our speaker uses emotions, values, desires, hopes, things like that to support their claim and to sway the audience to make their point in an argument. And it's usually used by like politicians and usually used for propaganda because it moves people. It tugs at the heartstrings, and emotions have such a powerful sway over people in general. So, but it is a very effective one, and we do see a lot of examples of it. So any sort of, especially in stories like The Glass Castle or Educated, because there's so many examples of like sexual abuse or physical abuse or even like love of family despite these trying times that make us want to sympathize with the author, it moves us in many ways. So anything like that counts as a pathetic appeal. We see it also a lot in movies, in TV commercials, and things like that, as well. Like if you've ever seen any sort of like adopt these kitties show, like the SPCA, where you have like arms of an angel playing in the background and all these sad clips of like suffering dogs and cats, it makes you want to cry and give all your money to the SPCA because you just want, well, the kitties to stop suffering and also the commercial to be over. But that's a great example of a pathetic appeal, of a use of pathos. All right, that's about all for the rhetorical appeals. Keep in mind for your essay, you really only need about 2 body paragraphs, one for each book, and in each paragraph, kind of focus on how the author uses those appeals in the story themselves. Have an introduction and conclusion. It should be still roughly about 2 pages long, though, and you can focus on one appeal or multiple. Take your pick. So that's all we got for today.